This 996 is an honest-to-God 911 that you can get for less than a Toyota Corolla. These were in production from 1997 until 2004, except for the GT cars, which were in production until 2006. Now that's cool. Haha. That was a nice 996 GT3 we just saw there. Now, these cars came at a time when Porsche was facing financial troubles. So they had Toyota come in and help them set up mass manufacturing methods at their Zuffenhausen production facility. It also shared a lot of components with the 986 Boxster for further cost savings. This 996 911 retained much of the front and rear suspension geometry from the 993, as well as the 6-speed transmission with only minor modifications. This may be the least loved generation of 911 due to the fried egg headlights, and also because it was the first water-cooled 911, so it's not considered a real 911 by classic Porsche enthusiasts, and for modern Porsche enthusiasts, they may prefer some of the newer, more high-performance water-cooled engines. However, this is a real honest-to-God 911, and that water-cooled engine has a number of benefits. The only real issue with this new and improved water-cooled engine is the IMS bearing, or intermediate shaft bearing, which had a failure rate of up to 8% in a class action lawsuit. However, let me let you in on a little secret. This 911 has had the IMS bearing done already, which makes this a real hell of a value. So why was this engine water-cooled? Well, Porsche needed to meet increased emissions regulations and to improve performance without sacrificing cost efficiency at a time that Porsche was struggling financially. Although this may be an underappreciated generation of 911 currently, I believe that the 996 will come to be loved just as much as any other 911. And that's due to the fact that it is historically important as the first 911 to have water-cooled engine and 4 valves per cylinder. It also offers many improvements over the 993 generation of 911, such as its lower drag coefficient, its improved chassis stability due to its longer wheelbase and wider track width, and it has a 45% stiffer and 110-pound lighter chassis as well. And if you have a cool car that you'd like me to review on this channel, go ahead and shoot me a message at reviewmycoolcar@gmail.com. So this is the owner of this car, Chris Simjian, and I'm going to ask him a little bit about what he's done to it.
Nothing major to the powertrain. It just has a IPD plenum throttle body. Mostly handling modifications have been done. It's been lowered, I'd say, pretty significantly. It has Bilstein shocks and struts all the way around, and it has turbo wheels on all 4 wheels. Even though they're called turbo wheels officially by Porsche, I believe that you could still option them on the base model, although these did not have those originally.
Okay, so this is still a relatively stock car other than a few minor improvements. So hopefully today I can give you a pretty good impression of what your experience would be like if you bought one. In order to get some driving impressions, I handed the keys to my anonymous test driver, who, by pure coincidence, happened to be wearing the exact same clothes as me that day. Here's what he had to say. The first thing you notice about the 996 is the way it delivers its power. On paper, 300 horsepower isn't much by modern standards, but the way it shoves you forward is surprisingly urgent, thanks to the traction from that rear-engined layout. Now, when you do turn into a corner, it does understeer slightly, but the handling is incredibly predictable, a massive leap forward from the older 911s, which often felt like they were plotting your demise. That understeer can be trimmed away with heavy trail braking, and that's actually this car's secret advantage. It allows you to brake far later than you dare in most other sports cars of that era. That's because driving a rear-engined car like this does take some adjustment. You have to load up the front tires before asking them to bite, and until you do, it feels a bit reluctant to turn. But once you get it right, the front end hooks up, the understeer disappears, and the car becomes wonderfully neutral, with far more grip than you'd expect from something over 2 decades old. Where this 996 stumbles is in the transmission department. The pedal box is okay, but not ideal for taller drivers, and heel and toe downshifts do require some uncomfortable gymnastics. The shifter itself feels a bit rubbery and vague, likely due to wear in the bushings over the years. The synchros work well and it accepts a gentle hand, but it never quite inspires confidence when you slot it into second. Fortunately, those are minor complaints, and easily fixable ones. The brake pedal height can be adjusted with basic tools to suit taller drivers, and a simple bushing refresh or ball bearing shifter upgrade can transform the shift feel without breaking the bank. Unfortunately, our day ended with a coolant leak. Luckily, it turned out to be nothing more than an old radiator hose, a fix that you can do yourself at home for not much more than the cost of a meal at McDonald's. That's the thing with cars of this age. You will have little issues, even with your Toyotas and Hondas that are supposedly infinitely reliable. So here's the thing about these old 911s is they're a little bit bougie, so they only drink Maison Perrier. But the verdict is simple. If you've got the budget for a brand new Toyota Corolla, you would have to be insane to spend the money on that and not on a 911. Why not get one of these 996s instead, and just keep a bit of money set aside for the occasional repair? According to the owner, Chris, it's been remarkably trouble-free aside from that radiator hose. Just make sure that you buy one which has had its IMS bearing replaced, and you'll be off to the races in something infinitely cooler than a commuter car. It might give you just enough headaches to keep your life interesting, but it's definitely worth it.